You're on the Six Screens Tele Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
And now, the end Disney.
Well, we got some announcements and reminders for July. The United Kingdom. Well, they don't want congregations to have bank accounts anymore. They want you to close the account and send the money to the Watchtower. Is the door-to-door work getting ready to resume? Well, we'll be talking about that. And the Pursue Peace Convention, playing on emotions, is the name of the game. In July 10th, 2022 Daily Text, a chronic disability is no excuse not to go out in service. And how are we doing in Ukraine? The Watchtower says they're doing wonderful helping the refugees, but we got some real news for you. Is the Watchtower really helping? And did you hear about 700 Jehovah's Witnesses along with their carts at the Oregon World Sports festivities? That's this weekend. Well, hello, everyone. My name's Rick Ferrin, and welcome in to the Six Screens Watchtower program. And we're glad you're with us tonight. Well, we're coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I have to tell you, it's always good to be in the company of an apostate of the Watchtower. I mean, there's no better feeling, right? And we do it here every Saturday night. I am in good company with all of you folks that are leaving the Watchtower or have already left. Now, why don't you guys tonight, we get a good audience coming in tonight, lots of people calling in on our telephone line. Why can't we get you guys, if you never called in tonight, why don't you try to call in? And we got some free gifts for you if you do. If we can get a new caller coming in tonight, you got a free gift. And it's a nice gift. You'll be very happy with it. But anyways, what we got here now, we got something new that I think you'll really like. It's called the Voice Changer. Now, I know many people have not been able to come in to this program because they didn't want themselves to be recognized. But we do have what we call a Voice Changer tonight. Just listen and hear it a little bit. One. Hello, everyone. This is Rick Ferrin, and I want you guys to come in on the Voice Changer. So there you go. We got a Voice Changer. So if you guys want to come in on the Voice Changer and you don't want anyone to recognize you, well, we'll put you on that. So, no excuse for not calling in. So why don't you test it out tonight right here on the Six Screens? Boy, I have to tell you, lots is happening in the Watchtower. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. Well, let's do this. We got a lot to talk about. Plus, we got a lot of programs coming up. So we'll get right into it. I want to welcome everyone into JW World News tonight. And as we always say, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday. Well, let's take a look at this. Atlantis. Well, he's the underground JW. I don't know if he's at Warwick or Patterson or where he's from, but friends, I'm telling you, he's sending me as well as others. He's sending announcements and reminders, and almost every week we talk about that. Now, there's a reminder for July that really got me thinking. Yes, in the United Kingdom, the Jehovah's Witness congregations are being asked by the branch office in the UK, they're being asked to delete their bank account. And any funds that are left in the bank account, where do you think they want the money to go? They want the money to go to Watchtower. So as Watchtower is selling everything off under their feet, I should say, and they're running away with all the money. That's what's happening. Everything is selling, all the Kingdom Halls for the most part, so many being sold in the UK, as well as all around the world. And now they're asking the witnesses over there to delete their bank account, send whatever in there to the Watchtower. Are these guys in trouble or what? So the next step, I guess, for the governing body is a paradise in the Bahamas. Maybe they're going to take the money and run. So telling the kingdom halls, or at least the elders in the kingdom halls, to close the bank account means that they want every last cent going directly to the headquarters. What is this all about? And now also now don't take this to the bank and cash it, but I'm getting information coming into the 6 screens, and people are telling me it's also going to start happening. They're hearing it's going to happen in the United States as well, but I'm not sure on that. But it is happening. I do know for sure that it is happening in the UK. So how does that work? So you take away the bank account, you take away the checking account of the congregation. I'm wondering, how are they going to get money, to the Watchtower? How are they going to get the funds coming in on a regular basis in the donation box? Well, I guess maybe they might do it through like electronic MoneyGram or something like that. So I find it kind of incredible that the branch would actually do this and actually take the task. They're saying they'll pay all the bills, but send the money, have no checking account, but they'll pay the bills for the congregation. Does someone want to come in and say something?
Yeah, it's me. My name's Carlos.
Yes, Carlos.
I'm from Bakersfield, California. I mean, I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. So I don't know what you want to talk about. Or you want to interview my story or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we want to talk about what I'm talking about right here, Carlos. We're talking about accounts being closed in the UK. Why don't you hang on for later when we open the lines up, and we'd be glad to talk to you, okay?
All right, cool. Sounds good.
All right, yeah, we just can't change subjects right now. We're talking about JW World News here tonight. So now we have, so go ahead and mute yourself. Hit *6, Carlos, okay? So what we got here is we got thousands of payments that have to be made to the electric companies. It has to be made to, the water bill of the Kingdom Hall. So the branch office is going to take care of this. I just can't see this as being feasible. Friends, this sounds to me like the Watchtower is just going to be shutting everything down here shortly. I mean, I don't know. I got to mute Carlos here. I got to mute Carlos. All right. Let me just do that. All right. So anyways, we got a lot of things happening in the UK. And like I say, it looks like it could even be coming here. But how, in goodness name's sake, is the branch going to take care of all of these routine expenditures, like I say? That's going to be a bureaucratic nightmare, taking care of all the little expenses. Now, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, that's what I do here at the 6 Screens. I have to think out loud because I can't sometimes, what the Watchtower is saying doesn't make sense. How do you make sense out of nonsense? So I got to kind of think out loud here from time to time. And I'm thinking that, all right, so who's going to, buy the cleaning supplies? Every hall, the toilet's got to be clean. The floors have got to be waxed. You need vacuum bags and you need all of that stuff. So how is that going to work? Generally, what they would do is just write a check out to the hardware store and pick the stuff up. But now how is that going to work? So I'm thinking what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, the Jones Field Service Group has the privilege this month of buying the supplies, the cleaning supplies for the Kingdom Hall. So that's what I'm thinking. Is they're just going to put the burden of all of this, considering it petty. Come on, guys, you can pay up and buy some cleaning supplies, and eventually they could do the same thing with the electric bill as well. Come on, guys, divvy up, and get a money order, get some cash and get a money order and send it off to the electric company, or have somebody stop down to the electric company's office and pay it. That's what I'm thinking, and it's going to be such a great privilege to be able to do that. So the Watchtower is sneaking out the back door once again on grabbing as much money as they can and leaving the poor congregation hanging. Not sensible. So when's this all going into effect? Well, according to the letter I have here from Atlantis, it says don't even bother calling the Watchtower. Don't call the branch office at this time. They're telling you here in July, but it says don't call. You're going to implement this program beginning in September, and they'll give you more information then. But they don't even want to talk about it. The Watchtower doesn't even want to talk about it. So they send a letter out to the congregation. Okay, folks, close your bank account, send the funds to us, and we'll talk about it in September. They're not giving any information on what they're going to do. So that's going to leave a lot of the congregations hanging. So, they're going to need certain little things. They're going to have to dig in their pockets and pay for it. What do you think? Do you think that's fair? Is the Watchtower ever fair? I'd like to hear what you have to think. Is this another money grab from the Watchtower? Go ahead, you're on with us. Hit *6. Say hello to us.
Sure.
Chewy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think they're fixing to shut the thing down. There was an update probably about 6 months ago from a dude over there in England. He has an accent. It's called JW Updates, and he did an update where they had actually not even signed up. The Kingdom Halls were not signed up to be in the Charity Commission this year, not as an individual, I wouldn't say corporation, but a charity. So they're not expecting to get the charitable status from those Kingdom Halls. I mean, he had the paperwork to show it and everything, and now they're just taking one more step to where they're going to, I'm thinking out loud, but they're just taking one more step to where they're going to unload all those Kingdom Halls in England.
Well, that's what it appears to me to be like, Chewy. I don't know how else your mind can process it. Some of these things are not making any sense at all. They have been selling a good many Kingdom Halls off over there and circuit assembly halls. So it looks like another crazy move. I mean, I'm glad to see these things happening because it's not a normal way for an organization to run a business. And so something's wrong. If the General Motors company ran a business like the Watchtower is running it right now, they'd run it right into the ground. And that's what seems to be happening with the Watchtower. So maybe it's good. Maybe we can all rejoice and say, hey, that's great. The Watchtower is going down. But I don't think they're going down because they have no money. I think what they're doing is they're going down, trying to grab as much money as they can before they go down. I think that's what's happening. All right, you're on with us. Any thoughts at all? I'd love to hear from you if you do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a thought.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're with us.
Okay. Hello. Well, I think that they are reading, what do you call they're reading the cards as far, this is Christine. They're reading the cards about people. Okay, they opened up the halls, right? And they're analyzing how many people are going to go to the Kingdom Hall. Well, it looks to me when people report, I've asked and I've listened, only about half end up going and the other half are on Zoom. So what I'm thinking is that they're going to condense even more and sell, and they're going to blame the rank and file. Well, you didn't go back to the Kingdom Hall, so why should we keep supporting it? So we're just going to go ahead and pare down more. I think it's another pare down. In other words, we're going to take the small groups and merge them again and sell off more halls. And then when it gets down to the very, bare minimum, I think they're going to tell them, well, if you guys want to meet at the hall, you're going to have to pay for your own bills and your own supplies. We're going to provide the place. We're providing the property. We're providing the building. So now you guys are going to have to provide, because they're not getting many. I think the contributions are also probably going down because of the economy and people becoming knowledgeable, PMOs, not thinking, I've talked to a couple PMOs who said, I'm not donating anymore. still going because I don't want to lose my family, but they've stopped donating. So I think that when they look at the whole picture, of course, they're a big corporation. They sit down, they analyze, how much money's coming in now, and what's it look like. People aren't going back to the halls. They want to do the Zoom. I think that they are just playing the profit game and paring down and saying, well, we got to look at the bottom dollar. And then I think myself, I'm guessing that they're going to throw it all on the congregation. So they might merge a bunch of them, sell a bunch of them, and then the ones that are merged, then they're going to throw it on them. Well, you guys take care of the bills. We're providing the Kingdom Hall. Because if they really want to meet, they'll donate. But people are probably paring back and not donating straight to the organization. That's just a guess. It's just I'm just rambling, ideas coming into my head about if I owned a corporation, how I would, looking at the bottom dollar, that's probably what they're doing. And they're going to blame the rank and file. They always do.
Well, Christine.
1975 was the rank and file's idea, and so it gives them kind of like a sneaky way to pull out, but blame everybody else.
Well, Christine, you should be working at the IRS as a criminal investigator, because I think you're hitting it. I think you're hitting it nail right head right on the the nail right on the head here. I mean it. I really do. I think that you what you just said is sensible. I wouldn't discount it one bit. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, we're looking at corporation that's profiting, is a for-profit organization. It's not a charity. 100% not a charity. That's why they're losing their status in different countries once they're exposed. But they've been able to live under the shadow of being a religion and a charity. So
there you go. They've been playing the game. They're playing games.
They're playing the corporate game, which is, this is a business for profit. Okay, I'll let somebody else.
All right.
Josh.
Well, thank you, Christine, for chiming in with us. Always good to hear from you. Don't be a stranger. Now you come back and see us. All right. What do you think? Do you think Christine's speaking some sense here? It sounds sensible to me. I mean, why not? We went to, we gave you the Kingdom Hall. We give you the spiritual food in due season. You guys take care of your own expenses. What do you need us for? I mean, really, that's what it seems to be coming to. Go ahead, you run with us. All right.
Yeah, Rick, it's Chad, and I have my own little theory that might be interesting.
Yeah.
I think because lately they've been wanting everyone, because of Zoom, everybody has had to donate online. I'm wondering if they're not going to tell people from now on, just donate online. It'll automatically go to the one general fund, and then they will have even more control of the money. They'll have control of the money even at the Kingdom Hall level. And it could also prevent, because right now, like you were talking about, if you need something, you just write a check and that's that. But that's an easy way for people to embezzle money from the Watchtower. So they might not trust Jehovah's Witnesses enough to handle their own finances.
Wow.
And if that's the case, that could be just them. This could be their way of saying, we'll handle your money because you're not responsible enough, or we think you're going to steal from us.
Well, Chad, you ought to be working as a criminal investigator too for the Internal Revenue Service, because I'll tell you what, that crossed my mind as well. And I'll tell you what happens. Right now, you have a weakened economy. And then don't think all of these Jehovah's Witness elders and ministerial servants are the most trustworthy. Many of them aren't. There's been numerous examples of elders, servants absconding money from the coffers and the boxes they put out to collect the money. It happens. And I think the Watchtower, that's a darn good understanding that you're giving us here tonight. It may be because of that. And they're saying, maybe the donations are way down and they're going, gee, what's happening here? Is somebody taking money out of the box? Maybe they're getting a little weary about that. Good thought. Very good thought. Geez, you guys, I'll tell you what,
Thanks.
you're coming up with some good thoughts here tonight because I'm telling you, there's got to be a reason. You just don't stop someone's checking account. How would you like it? How would you like it if someone came to you today and said, okay, no checking account. You can't have a bank account. You realize how hard that would be? Geez, how would you even do things? But they're saying, don't worry. They're saying, we'll give you more information in September, but don't bother writing us now, asking us questions, but we're not going to answer them. We'll let you know in September. What kind of an answer is that? Jeez. It's fishy.
Rick,
Yes.
I had one more thought on that.
Yes, go ahead.
It's 15. There has been rumors that, well, not rumors. I know in China, evidently, they've shut the 4 biggest banks down in China and taken all the people's money. There are rumors that if this plan goes as they plan, they're planning to take all of our money out of the bank and tell us, here, you get so much a month and, get in the food line. That's my understanding, is that if they do continue their plan, their agenda to bring a new world order in, my thoughts are that they're acting just like the global agenda. They're taking the bank account. They just, boom, it was fast. It's almost like overnight. They're just announcing it, and then they're going to do it, and you're not allowed to ask any questions. And so it reminds me of rumors that is their agenda, to take over the financial system and get everything under control. I don't know if they're planning a digital form of, I think they're planning some digital form of money. But there are rumors, and, that they're going to do that here. And so people are being warned here. Get your money out of the bank. Don't leave all your assets in the bank. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm thinking it reminds me of how, if they're part of the New World Agenda, which I'm pretty sure they are, then they're acting just like their leader, which is, the global New World Order. And so taking bank accounts is a very severe, I mean, they're not going in and taking them. Like, they're telling them to shut it down and turn. They must have enough authority to be able to just tell the congregation, this is what you're doing. Whether they'll all do it or not, we'll see. There might be some resistance, but on the other hand, it reminds me of what's going on as these, shadow government is trying to come in and make a new world order. I had to say that because it just reminds me of it. You don't just tell somebody, here, give me your bank account,
Well, you got me thinking now. My goodness gracious, I didn't think of that at all. Geez, you cover a lot of bases here, Christine. I'm thinking now. You got me thinking. Now you got me thinking, because they are, and Jimmy will probably be talking about that tonight on the big picture. That they are part of the reset, and they are part of it. There's no doubt. So maybe they see something coming, and maybe, hey, let's grab all the money we can before the Chinese get it. I don't know, but you might have something that's speaking volumes here, Christine. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Well, thank you.
Yes, Randy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christine. Go ahead, Randy. You're with us.
Just a question for you. I can't really remember the complete details, but didn't a few years back, or a couple years back or so, they passed it, Watchtower passed it, where all the congregations was only allowed to keep a certain amount of money, like maybe $500, and they had to send everything else into them, and they could never get past above that amount?
Yes. Yes, that was back, I believe, in 2016, 2017. And at one time, Randy, they were able to keep $5,000 in their account. And then a year or two later, they came out and said, no, we're going to cut that back. And if you do, I forget what they cut it back to, but they said if you need like a larger sum of money, you write to us and we'll see if we can't give that to you. But I believe it was on a loan type basis. Yeah, well, thank you, Randy. My goodness gracious. No, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to say this right out loud. We have got very intelligent people that listen into the six screens. There's no question in my mind. Our audience is super smart. And I'm not just saying that, to just build you guys up, but I'm saying it because of the truth. You guys are coming up with angles I never even thought of. So kudos to you guys. See what you do. This is what you do. You brainstorm. One person can't come up with all the ideas, but you brainstorm and you put your heads together as we're doing here tonight on the six screens. And we all come up with thoughts. Now, I'm not going to tell you. I'm sure there's people listening in and going, that is nuts. That is crazy, Rick. No, we're just brainstorming. Don't call us crazy. We're trying to come up with ideas. And like I said earlier, how do you make sense out of nonsense? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be like criminal investigators for the IRS. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out what are these guys doing and how are they doing it. So we're just coming up with ideas. That's all. So anyways, I'm glad you're with us tonight. Anybody else got any ideas on what the Watchtower is doing, wanting to close down bank accounts in the United Kingdom? Jeez, I don't know what's going to happen.
Hello, Rick.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, hi, Rick. This is Constance. I'm calling you on the other number, so you might not recognize the number.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, dear, I was gonna say I'm in agreement with what Christine had to say. Now I've been told that this October is going to be the Great Reset with the globalist agenda. In other words, changing all of our, here in this country, the U.S. dollar. I mean, we know we're 22 trillion in debt, and they're going through money like crazy. But my understanding, I have been directly told that it's going to be this October. It's going to be the Great Reset in terms of our currency and things changing into cryptocurrency. So I also find it very interesting that Watchtower is waiting until September to, make their decision what's going on. I do believe Watchtower is part of the deep state, and they do know what's going on. I mean, why is it that they're not saying, well, let's just wait till the new year, January? No, they're waiting till September. And the Great Reset is supposed to be the next following month, which is October. So I find that very interesting, Rick. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Constance.
I wanted to add something, Constance. I heard it was September. I don't know why I heard that. I heard it on some documentary I was watching, that they will most likely do it in September. But that's just close enough. I mean, that's close enough. It could be September, could be October. And the warning is also, the money you have in the bank is not yours. There are laws that state that banks, when they confiscate people's money, when they shut everything down, they are legally allowed to do that. It's in there. It's a part of how they set it up. The laws is that is their money, and they will promise to you at some future date, possibly, to return it. But for the sake of saving themselves, they are actually allowed to take everyone's money. Just wanted to put that in. Maybe everybody should think about pulling their money out. I don't know how good cash is, when everything goes. I have no clue, but it's a bit of a thought. It's something to think about, not to leave all your investments in and your banks and all that stuff. Maybe get some out for yourself. All right, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, there you go. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. If you have some money in the bank, I'd say probably, start thinking about getting some of it out. I mean, don't take it all out at once, but, take a little bit out at a time if you got some. And, it's just, money right now is losing 10% a year anyways. cash laying around is not doing you lose. If you have $1,000, it's only going to be worth 900 next year. I mean, that's what's happening right now. But we're in a different world, folks. We're in a different world. And you know what got me thinking? Even for the Watchtower to say, don't even, write us, don't write the branch, don't ask us anything about it. We'll send you information in September. Is that how a business does business? I mean, what if you were a franchise for Chevrolet and you were a Chevrolet dealership and they came out with some cockamamie thing? They said, well, don't even ask us about it. We'll tell you a few months from now. They couldn't get away with it, but the Watchtower gets away with it. My goodness, what an organization. Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm glad Satan kicked me out of the organization. I couldn't handle it. But people are handling it. They're still in there. All right, let's take a look here. Let's see what else we got going on JW World News. How about the door-to-door work being resumed? Yeah, that's what they're talking. And, 95% of the Jehovah's Witnesses do not want to go back to the door-to-door work. But there's 5% of the Jehovah's Witnesses that I would consider to be crackpots. And they love, or at least they pretend to love, going house to house and peddling the Watchtower publications. What do you think about that? I don't think they do. I think they're just saying it to sound like there's some type of a super witness. Yeah, some people are writing to me. In fact, one man wrote in, and he from Southern California, and he told me that he was driving through his neighborhood the other day, and he saw two men holding literature in suits, wearing masks, and they were going door to door. So I don't think it was the Mormons. I don't think it was the Moonies. I think it was Jehovah's Witnesses. So maybe already in some areas they are doing that. And I know, and I tell people this all the time, the Watchtower sends up trial balloons. They might not come right out and say, okay, everybody's going to go back in service, but they'll tell a few congregations in certain quadrants of the world, and they'll tell them, okay, go ahead, go out and try it. Let's see what happens. But I mean, about 5% of the people might like it, but most of the witnesses don't. And I know even you listening in here tonight, you couldn't. How can you possibly like going door to door? Friends, I've been in business all my life. I've sold products all my life. I had my own business, and selling is important. And the Watchtower realizes that you got to get out and you got to sell people on this cult. But here's what I'm thinking: you better come up with a good pitch. You better come up with a good pitch, or you're gonna get. How do you get going to the door and someone opens it and they slam it in your face? I found it way easier to sell in the commercial world than I ever found going door to door. That is hard. That is hard for women, children, old people, young people. Who likes that? That's a chore and a half, and it's difficult to do it. That's why a lot of people would fake it. They would make believe they're ringing the doorbell, and they really weren't. They didn't want anybody to come. And they make up an excuse. Some people in the group, in the service group, would say, "Oh, I'm not going to go to that house. That's a return visit." I talked to them last week. They did make some type of a story up, right? But anyways,
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Randy.
I just want to tell you, just a little bit before noon, I got back home from a hobby of mine, and the first thing I told my wife, Cindy, I said, "You know what, honey? This sure as a hell beats going out in field service Saturday morning."
Well, you better believe it, Randy. We all did it. But how could you possibly like it? My goodness, what drudgery. It was tough. I mean, that is cold calling at its worst. Knocking on doors and trying to change people's religions. Try that one out. Try that one out for size.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Scott.
Yes, Scott.
Listen, I led car groups for many, many years in New York and in Chelmsford and Florida. And I can tell you, the vast majority, I don't think enjoy going out. I think they do it for the same reason we did it, because we had to. You had to get some hours in. You had to appear to be doing something. Because I found even a lot of elders were very reticent to go to go out. And if they had the littlest excuse, they would like skip, the group. I showed up one Saturday, and my book study conductor was there. And, instead of going out in service with me, he's like, oh, I got something else to do. And he split, took off, and left me. He wasn't going to go out in service with me, I guess. So I really think a lot of people do it just strictly because they have to, not because they want to. I know my wife was petrified going door to door, and I bet you a lot of sisters and friends, it's because it's not a natural thing to go door to door. So I'm sure they didn't like it. I had an elder once tell me that when I moved to Florida, and I wasn't a ministerial servant yet, but he said, you want to become a ministerial servant or elder? He says, the best way to impress the elders is put a lot of time out in service. And I thought, well, that's kind of a callous, no other qualities, no other things to work on, just put a lot of hours in and impress them. That's basically the message he was trying to pass to me. And when a circuit overseer came once, oh my God, he chastised the elders and ministerial servants for not putting enough time in. And he basically, he threatened everybody. If I come back here next time and I don't see that your hours have come back up, he goes, some of you aren't going to be here, he goes. So, he literally threatened it, and all he cared about was the hours. That's just my experience.
Well, that's exactly true what you're saying, Scott. As a matter of fact, the witnesses will tell you, well, I go out in service because I love my neighbors and I want to warn them about, Armageddon. And if they don't become a Jehovah's Witness, they would die. But they don't go out in service because of love of neighbors. They go out because they know darn well if they don't, they can't be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to go out. You can't say, well, I don't like it. You have to go out. You know that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So what I don't understand, well, what really got me thinking here as I'm going through some of these stories this week, we call them PMEs. Those are the witnesses that are physically in and mentally in. They're still staunch Jehovah's Witnesses. But what I'm thinking here, they've been away from service now, going door to door as it is for the last couple of years. I'm wondering how they can justify service not resuming. So many PMEs, they don't want to go back, and they're trying to justify it. Well, no, we're not going to go back. But when you stop and think about it, weren't we all taught as Jehovah's Witnesses that we couldn't stop talking? And the day that we would stop talking or preaching about Jehovah, the rocks themselves would preach to the people. That's how serious we took it. So we had to do it. We would be blood guilty if we didn't do it. So what these PMEs, those that are staunch, loyal witnesses, they don't want to go back to the door-to-door work. That's the last thing they want to do. So they're coming up with excuses. I'd say excuses. How about COVID? Let's start there. They're talking about, well, COVID's still a problem. And you see all the witnesses still wearing masks, right? Even all of the different cart witnessing and what have you, they still have masks on outside. So COVID still is a big problem in the world of the witnesses. So they're saying, well, I don't want to go out in service because I'm afraid I might catch COVID, or I might give COVID, or something will come up with COVID. So that's one thing. And then I got thinking, well, what would be another thing? What would be another thing that the PMEs would give excuses for not going out in service? Well, I'm thinking they could use mass shootings. Think about it. Mass shootings. My goodness, every other day we turn the TV on, somebody's getting shot somewhere. So they could say, well, I'm not going to go out, and I don't trust going door to door. There might be a mass shooter in the neighborhood or something. And also, nobody's going to answer the door anymore anyways. Who's going to answer the door when there's so much criminal activity, people walking down the street, hijacking cars, beating people up, pushing people on the subway? Who's going to feel comfortable with a bunch of people walking down the street and coming to your door? Well, would you answer the door? People are a little more skeptical today. And I can also see, I'm thinking lawsuits galore. Well, what if a Jehovah's Witness goes to the door and talks to the householder, and then a couple of days later the householder comes down with COVID? Lawsuit. I can smell a lawsuit. So maybe you could use a lawsuit, for example, of not wanting to go back in the service. So I'm just thinking. There's a number of reasons, and the Watchtower they're gonna looks like they're gonna resume it because it looks like it's already happening. Some countries they're already gone back, and I say even in this country, some places they're going back as well. So we'll just have to see. I mean, I don't know what excuse they could use other than what I just gave you. Even if they're chronically sick, they're still encouraged, according to a text this month. Even if you're chronically sick, you still have to go out and preach. What do you guys think? Did you like going out in service? Did you play, the fake doorbell ringing? And now you got these doorbells with cameras on them too, so that people don't even have to come to the door. All they have to see is a couple of people out there with masks on and all dressed up. I mean, it's a dead giveaway. They know who you are. So I'm telling you, that'd be a rough. If you thought it was rough prior to COVID going out in service, try it now. Boy, can you imagine what it'll be like now? It would be terrible. Can you imagine? No, nobody would be excited, would you? I wouldn't. So I mean, I'm just thinking that's what I'm thinking. So the universe is different. The people in the world are different today, right? All the people in the world are different. We're all seeing things different than we did just a couple years ago. The COVID and the shutdowns and everything have made people way more aware of their environment. And to have people going up and down the street knocking on doors, I don't know. I'd imagine if people answer the door, some of them might have a firearm in their hands. Seriously, they don't know who you are. Geez, you got all kinds of perverts and people doing all kinds of crime today. I wouldn't trust it. In fact, maybe that's the excuse I'd use. Well, gee, Mr. Elder, Brother Elder, I really can't go door to door. I'm scared to death. Someone's going to shoot me. I mean, I've heard of stories before where people had guns pulled on them prior to all of the shenanigans that are going on in the world now. You can just imagine what it'll be like now. Unbelievable. What do you think?
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Rick. Oh,
Okay, let's go with the lady first. Go ahead.
oh yes.
Okay, thank you, Rick. I was just going to say, with the high cost of inflation and gasoline, I mean, I'm out here in California. It's insane, and I think people just all across the country being in lockdown with COVID for 2 years and just really seeing how the world has changed like 360 degrees. I think people are just like on edge. Now, I can tell you this, Rick. My friend, who she is. Anyway, her sister is an elderette and her brother is an elder. So there are two congregations in their Kingdom Hall in the town where I am. And I had mentioned to her that two sisters apparently had come, about a month ago next door over to Mary Ann's house. And they weren't there for very long, but they were going door to door. I don't know. I was home. I don't know why they didn't ring my doorbell. Maybe, Rick, maybe they got my number knowing I'm an apostate and they didn't want to come near my front door. I don't know. But anyway, I was shocked to find out that they're going door to door now. So I mentioned it to my friend, and she was shocked. And she said, oh, it must be the other congregation because our congregation is not going door to door. We're still, writing letters and all that. And like I say, her sister is an elderette and brother's an elder. So, yeah, you know what, Rick, let's put it this way. I would not want to be going door to door to a total stranger you never met. I remember back in the day, there were two sisters. This was in the early 80s. And it was Saturday morning. The group broke up and the two sisters were going door to door. And this guy pulled a gun on them. And, man, did it scare the heebie-jeebies out of them. And I guess, maybe the guy was running from the law or got in trouble. And he thought, oh, my gosh, here I'm in trouble. He opened up the door and he had a gun. And they said, oh, no, we're just Jehovah's Witnesses. And he said, no, this is not a good time to get lost. And said, okay, fine. That would be pretty scary, especially if that gun was loaded, which it probably was.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Rick. Hello, Rick.
Hi, Rick. This is Joe and Fran.
Go. Who's this?
This is Joe and Fran. Hi, Rick.
Oh, Joe. Good to talk to you. Yep.
And you too. Look, we as far as service goes, personally, the one thing I really did enjoy about service was the card group, but not going door to door. Depending on who we had as a mix of card group, we had some very nice discussions, which we didn't worry about whether or not they were quote unquote theocratic, but they were personal. They were helpful for each other. It was a good time for each other to establish the kind of personal relationships that you need to for adults and even for the young ones as well. So for that alone, if it was the right group and if it was, and if the how do I want to say this? And if the leader, whoever was the card group leader, was a good moderator, it would be very nice. So that that was the one thing that I thought was good. But as far as door to door, it was a mistake, absolute mistake.
Yeah.
Door to door.
Well, I agree with you, Joe. It was nice to kind of be with the people. We had good conversations. You go to the donut shop together, but knocking on doors, no, nobody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
This is Scott again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, man, it was very, very common. You'd go door to door for about a half an hour, and then it's like, oh, it's time for a coffee break. And, we'd end up, everybody, no matter what group, you'd find a bunch of groups congregating at one coffee shop, and everybody'd be laughing and talking, and you'd easily eat up an hour or more just at the coffee shop. And then we'd go do some, return visits. And I had this one elder, he was my book study conductor, and I'd go, my family and his family would go out. If he saw a garage sale, he'd stop. We'd jump out. We'd look at the garage sale, jump in the car, go do another call if we saw another garage sale. So, it was like you were just basically trying to stretch the morning out and get it over with. That's what it all came down to.
Yeah, just going through the motions. Dragging your feet, hoping you didn't have to call on a lot of houses, hoping it would rain. Many times you were hoping it would rain. Yeah, good. Thank you, Scott. All right. So what do you guys, we got a lot of people listening in tonight. If you'd like to share your thoughts, did you like going out? Did you love knocking on the door? Go ahead.
This is Fran and Joe.
Yes, Fran.
So we lived down in Florida for a couple of years, and we were regular pioneering, and we were just had moved in, and we were out in service, and one of the pioneer sisters said, "Whoa, wait a minute, you have to learn how to do the pioneer shuffle." I said, "What's the pioneer shuffle?" She says, "Well, you got to go really slow to the doors because it's so hot." And and you can't be rushing from one door to the next. And we would cover the same territory every 2 weeks. Too many witnesses, and so basically we would just tell them the name of the Sunday talk. That was our little sermon. So that was kind of interesting in Florida.
Yeah, Fran, I do remember the Pioneer Shuffle. I lived in Florida too for a while, and yeah, they do the Pioneer Shuffle when it gets hot. And I can remember it was so hot, and there were sisters with little heels. They weren't 3-inch heels or anything, but they had these little heels on, and the street was so hot, the asphalt, that the little heels would stick in the asphalt. I remember that, and it happened.
Yep.
It was terrible, terrible. I mean, it was brutal. Jeez, unbelievable.
Rick.
Yes.
Hey, this is Denise. You got a minute for my announcement?
Yeah, no, I know you have a special announcement here tonight. I would love to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how many of everybody knew the XJW channel, Jerry Jones. He was on for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah, I know Jerry Jones, yep.
He passed away Thursday.
He did? No,
yeah.
He was from Florida, right?
Yeah, but he had moved to Oklahoma a couple of years ago to him and I had worked out a deal to help each other out, and he'd been here for 2.5 years, but he died Thursday.
Wow. Now, no, he used to come on years ago. Jerry Jones came on a
Yeah,
lot
right. Yeah.
when we first had our 6 screens going years ago, and then we haven't heard from him. Now, he wasn't that old, was he?
Yeah, he was 60.
He was?
Yeah, just 60. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a shame. Well, we're sad to hear that, Denise. So he was a close friend of yours, was he?
Yeah, him and I have been friends for years. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry to hear that. That always hurts when someone dies. Uh, did he die of a sickness or something? You don't have to share it if you don't want to, but is it?
No, actually, he seemed just fine. We were going through our normal daily routine and everything, and he didn't say he didn't feel good. He didn't act like he was sick. Nothing like that. And I thought he had gone out to do some weed eating out in the yard, and I couldn't find him. He usually showed up at 3 o'clock, and I didn't see him at 3 o'clock, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to go look for him, and I found him in the bathroom, dead.
Wow. You think it could have been? Was it hot? I mean, Oklahoma had every single inch of Oklahoma was over 100 degrees last week. You think it could have been?
Well, it was only that day. It was only 88 degrees. It was nice.
Wow.
And so that's why I thought maybe he had gone out and done some weed eating or something. But yeah, it was a nice cool day that day. And like I said, I had to go look for him, and he was gone already. I mean, there was no chance in saving him. He was just gone. He was diabetic. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. The medical examiners, I got to call them Monday and see what they say about it. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or what, but I don't know.
Well, we're sad.
But I thought I'd let everybody know that he had passed away.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Denise. And gee, I know it's got to hurt you a lot because you're close friends with him. But no, I remember Jerry, and he used to come on quite a bit. And
he did.
Yeah, I was just thinking about him the other day, as a matter of fact. But well, thank you for sharing that with us, Denise. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you go. I mean, there's a lot of people. We're all getting older, and people are dying. We're at the point that we're all going to die once. And we did know Jerry, and if you've been listening to the 6 screens for a number of years, you probably remember him as well. Well, let's move on. We've got the convention. Well, the regional convention for Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, it's going on right now, and their weekends are tied up listening to this malarkey. Pursue Peace Convention. That is the theme for the 2022 convention. And I watched it this week, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the Friday afternoon session. I want to share some things with you because, man, I'm telling you, emotions are the name of the game with the Watchtower as of late. The organization is playing with your feelings if you're still one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And, you're emotionally involved with the Watchtower. And there isn't one Jehovah's Witness that might be listening to this program tonight that cannot tell me they're not emotionally attached to this evil organization. However, the Watchtower is not emotionally attached or involved with you, Mr. and Mrs. Witness. Did you know that? They could give 2 hoots of beans about you. In the reality, the organization doesn't want the same thing you want. They want to control you, and they don't want the same things you want, and they're going to keep you involved with them. But they don't really care about you. They are not honest. The Watchtower organization is not honest about their intentions, and instead stringing you along if you're still one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, that's my little thought on this. Now, like anything, if you're going to buy a car, you're going to go on vacation, there's got to be a sales pitch, right? You're going to go out and buy something. Someone's going to have to give you a sales pitch. And that's all I really took out of watching this section on Friday of the convention. It's a sales pitch. The Watchtower is a sales pitch. So I'm going to start playing some of this to you. And if you're on YouTube, Facebook, you'll see it. If you're on our Six Screens video suite, you can hear it. And on our radio network, you'll hear it. But you just listen in here. I'm going to play it right now. And you tell me what you think. And I know it makes you sick. It kind of makes you sick. So if you can't stand it, just leave the room for now. But let's play it. Let me just get it queued up here. All right, we're ready to roll with it. I do believe. Let me just check and make sure that we can see it. Yeah, we can. All right, so let's go with it. Let's play the clip and see what they have to say.
Fills our hearts with appreciation and love for Jehovah. Let's express those feelings as we sing song number 144, entitled Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. That's song number 144.
All right, so we're starting off here with some emotion. We're starting off with some emotion. They're going to get you emotionally involved with them. So let's listen in a little bit more. And then I'm going to go forward here to some degree. Let me move up a little bit. Let me move up to 1630. Let's see what they're saying here at 1630. Now, what the Watchtower has to do is they've got to sell you on something. This is a sales pitch. And I've been noticing this more and more what the Watchtower is doing. You're really not getting any meat. You're really not getting any meat. They're playing more videos and showing grandiose scenery and people smiling and happy. It's like a vacation advertisement. Seriously. So now they're going to tell you they just played that song about the deaf ears. People will hear again. People will see again. It's a good song. I didn't mind the song. I used to sing it. But they play that and they get all the audience. They get them all riled up. They get them all emotionally attached. Well, let's go forward to 16 minutes and 30 seconds in. And let's see what they're doing there. So that's 16 minutes and 30 seconds in. So let's hold on one second. Let's try this right here. Just
because of the pain of heart, and you will because of a broken spirit. Although we may at times experience literal hunger, we enjoy an abundance of satisfying spiritual food. In the future, Jehovah will completely eliminate literal hunger. As you watch the following video, think about the blessings we enjoy now and the ones we will enjoy in the future.
It's just like a sales pitch. I can't reiterate it enough. And they're going to show all of these pictures. You'll see them. So what they got, they start off with this a song, that you'll see again, you'll hear again. And they get you all emotionally wrapped into their little pitch here. And then Brother Hurd comes on, read some scriptures about how Jehovah's going to take care of you. He's going to give you abundance of food, whether it's physical food or whether it's spiritual food, and how Jehovah's going to take good care of you. If you're a witness, don't you worry. You got nothing to worry about. Let's watch this video.
Through Isaiah, Jehovah promised to feed his servants physically and spiritually. Today, Jehovah invites us to a banquet. that is spiritually nourishing. Bible-based videos and publications draw us close to God. And satisfy our hunger for truth. In the new world, abundant, healthy food will be more than a promise. It will be a reality.
Well, they show pictures, folks, of beautiful scenery. They're showing pictures of people gathering together, witnesses, enjoying the great outdoors, having a barbecue. No meat on the grill, though. It's all like coconuts and broccoli. But, that's going to be a new system barbecue, I guess. So they're talking about the new world, that they even bring that into the equation. And they do mention a number of times that in the new world, things will be so much better. And it's like a vacation ad, like I say. So what I'm thinking here is it's really no different than ads that you'd see on TV. And I'm gonna play one of these ads. I'm gonna get it up now so that you'll be able to see it, because it really is something else. And I want you to see it. So let me just see if I can find it. But I was looking today at sandals commercials. And my goodness, it was very much the same thing. When you're looking at Sandals Resorts on TV, do you remember seeing them? Well, I'm telling you, it was very much like that, very much. And I'm going to see if I can't find that clip and get it up so you guys can see it if you're on our video suite. I should have had it up, but sometimes I just forget to get some things done here. But we'll get it in here. Let me see if I can find it. But what do you think? I mean, did you watch the convention at all? I hope you didn't, but I'm sure some witnesses are listening in that probably did. But they do. They play on your emotions. They try to get you emotionally involved, and that's the name of the game for them. So that's how it works. But I'm going to put this up right now. This is a commercial for sandals, and they're showing basically the same pictures.
When was the last?
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm going to get this up so you guys can see it on Facebook, and I want you to see the similarities. I want you to see the similarities from the nice pictures they're showing at the convention, and also what they're showing on a sandals commercial. It's pretty much the same. I wouldn't doubt if they have the same marketing team, really. So let's see if we can't get that up. And here it goes. Let's share it now, and let's watch it.
Last time you did something for the first time. Discovered water that was 20 shades of blue. Where a butler served you cocktails on a beach. Ever dined in Paris one night and in India the next. Or the last time you felt like this. Sandals Resorts. With everything included, there's a first time for everything. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Oh, what do you think? I mean, isn't that pretty much? I mean, almost the same pictures, right? Beautiful pictures of scenery, people together, enjoying life, music playing in the background. Oh, that's exactly what the Watchtower is doing. And then this is the new way of marketing. Friends, let's get real. This is not the Watchtower that you and I grew up in. It really isn't. They play on your emotions. And then, of course, at the end of the talk, they gave another song and getting people to sing it and just drawing people in that way. That's the only way. They're not teaching any. I didn't see any real good sound teaching. Remember when Brother Noor, and Brother Franz would give a talk? Wow. It would be unbelievable. You'd walk away scratching your head and you say, gee, I might have learned something. You're not learning anything listening to these infomercials. You're really not. So what do you guys think of the new organization? Do you think they really rebranded? I mean, it's so, they're cartoons with Caleb and Sophia. It's so Disney-esque. It's like there's a big marketing company behind this. And this isn't just Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't have that ability. They've got people working with them that know how to market the Watchtower. And that's exactly what they're doing. Who'd like to speak up? Who'd like to say something? You're on with us. Come on. Say hello to us here at Six Screens. Don't be bashful. Hit *6 and come on. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, beautiful evening over here in the Upper Peninsula tonight. It's about 80 degrees right now. The humidity is about 50% or something like that. It's kind of gone down. It was pretty hot yesterday. It was in the 90s. It was pretty hot in the daytime, but thank goodness for everything right now and so forth. Yeah, I haven't been able. I just been able to listen to everything on and off tonight, but I would like to comment on these speeches and that the Watchtower Society makes and so forth. And I've said it before to different people, but I mean, when they talk about, well, this is what God is going to do. Armageddon's coming. This is what you got to do and so forth. And you know what? This is what's going to happen. God is gonna. Doesn't that sound just like a political politician trying to get elected to office and so forth about what he's going to do and all these promises and so forth? But then when he gets elected, nothing ever happens. Same thing with the Watchtower Society. They're going around talking about what's going to happen and so forth. Nothing ever happens. None of these prophecies that was predicted by the Watchtower Society or other religious societies have ever come true. And it's just a big scam, a big story, and a big perpetrated fraud.
Well, I'm glad you said it, Ken, because I couldn't have said it any better. And I got thinking of that even today, believe it or not, that it is like a political sham. It's very much like a politician coming on you, making all of these promises to you, and then they do nothing. And that's exactly what the Watchtower is doing here. And they're playing on people's emotions. Who wouldn't like to live in a new world? And who wouldn't like to have fine food and good health? These are things people want. So the Watchtower, they play on that. And they suck people into this. They suck people into this cult because of that. And then they play beautiful music and people start crying and, oh, I love Jehovah. And then that's how they're hooked. That's how they're hooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just got another comment I want to make. You know, there's an old saying years ago that fairy tales used to start with once upon a time. Now, this day and age, they start with if I'm elected.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying that. We're getting into campaign season, and we're going to have a lot of promises. We're going to have everybody come out now and give us all their promises, and they're all going to fall flat. You watch that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to all fall flat like they usually do and so forth. So, except if the people get together and say, we're mad as hell, we're not going to put up with it no more. So that's what we got to do. And I'm glad to see that the past several months and all that, the past several years and everything like that, we're getting more callers, we're getting more people involved, and that does my heart a lot of good.
Well, I can tell you like a new man, and I'm happy too, Ken. I'm really pleased with what I see happening here on this network. We are getting a lot of new people calling in. We are getting not only people calling in, but people just listening in and comments and emails. I've never had so many since we've been doing the program for 16 years. So something's happening, and I can only attribute it to more and more witnesses getting out of the organization. It's tanking, and people are leaving. Yes.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that. And I just long to see the day. I hope I live long enough to see the day that they will come to the end, because nobody realizes, you know, how much damage they have done to people through the years. And what we're hearing here on Six Screens, and although we're getting some pretty bad graphic stories, but what we're hearing here on Six Screens is only a fraction. There is hundreds upon thousands of stories that we will never hear about.
Well, that's exactly true. That's exactly true. We're only hearing what we're grabbing from the surface. We're only at the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot below here, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in.
Okay, we'll keep listening.
All righty. Well, good man. That's Ken up there in the northern peninsula of Michigan. Always good to have Ken come in. Anyways, I don't know if you caught it or not. I don't think you guys read the Daily Text anymore, do you? Well, I do from time to time, but the July 10th, 2022 Daily Text, Jehovah's Witness Daily Text. Well, I couldn't believe what I read. I found it really, really disturbing. And they were saying that if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you have a chronic disability, that is no excuse for not going out in service. So if you're chronically sick or you have a disability, come on, buddy, get your butt moving. You got to get out in service. So if you were struggling to cope, this is what it said in their text. If you are struggling to cope with a chronic disability, ask Jehovah to give you the strength you need to stay as busy as you can in his service. So each time you see Jehovah help you, your faith grows and you become stronger. Yeah, well, tell that to a person that's suffering from, bad MS or some other serious heart condition, or whether it be even seizures. And my former wife, Inez, she used to have seizures, and she would get what they call a photogenic seizure, where like a police car or a tow truck with flashing lights would go by. She could go into a seizure. And so we'd go out in service, but I was always nervous that something like that could set her off. And then what do? Call an ambulance or rush her up to the hospital? So, one with a chronic disability. So I got online. I wanted to find out. Here the Watchtower was saying, if you have a chronic disability or a chronic sickness, don't worry about it. Just get out in service and Jehovah will be good to you. Well, I checked out, what is a chronic disability? Well, what really is some of the things that would be considered a chronic disability? Well, I did a quick Google search and it showed up the top chronic diseases. Do you know what they are? Well, I'll tell you what they are. The top chronic diseases: cancer. That's not a good thing to have, right? Would you like to be going out and, some cancers are more mild than others, but do they want you going out in service if you're really having cancer at its worst, like a stage 3 or 4? And they're saying also a chronic disease is a heart disease, a stroke. You want to go out 95-degree weather, door to door, if you're down in Florida, can hardly even think straight because it's so hot. You want to go out and run the risk of having a stroke? Yeah, get out there. Just get out there. Don't worry. Get out in the ministry. That's what the Watchtower will tell you. Diabetes. Well, diabetes, that's a chronic sickness. Arthritis. You know what it's like to have severe arthritis? It's got to be bad. How do you walk? Your joints hurt, everything. Well, get out there. Just get those joints moving. You'll be okay. And how about people going through chemo? People who have to be on dialysis. Yeah, people have to go in every week and have their kidneys flushed out. Or they have to go in for chemo treatments. They're supposed to go out in service? Come on, Watchtower. Can you cut these guys some slack? Give them a break. What excuse do you have? Do you have any excuse for not going out? Yes.
Thomas Hawks of Lawrence, Kansas. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Thomas. Yes, good to hear from you.
You bet. Hey, they expect people to share the Watchtower agenda. JW preaching, he was flat on their back. I've heard that one before. Yeah, they expect you to just do it every turn, no matter what condition you're in. I guess the only way they don't want you to go out is if you're almost dead. It's just unbelievable what these guys are trying to pull off.
And they get away with it, Thomas. They get away with it.
Yeah. Just real quick, a side step, real quick. I'm buying a new car from Norwood, Massachusetts, a SUV, Toyota RAV4 Prime.
Yeah.
I'm going to be getting here about another month. I wish I had the chance to visit you, Rick. I know you're not too far from there.
Yeah, well, when you get up in this area, give me a ring. I think you have my telephone number. At least email me and let me know what's going on.
I'd love.
Yeah.
How far are you from Norwood?
I'd say probably about 30, 40 miles, somewhere around there.
That's what I figured. Yeah, if I had the time, I'd love to get over that way and see it. Seriously.
Well,
but anyway,
let me know when you're up here, and maybe we get together, okay?
Okay, I'll see if that works out that way. I'd like to. Take care.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks for checking in with us. Well, he was right. We had another brother on there too. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, yes, Rick, this is Justin. I was just going to make mention that one of the reasons why they put that in the daily text is because they want to make sure that you have no excuse to be able to fall on to not go on service. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of witnesses do not want to go back in the door to door. As mentioned, I'm a TMO. I talked to several brothers and sisters. They're not looking forward to it. It's rumored that September is new service year. They're going to have to go back. They don't want to do that. So they're throwing that in there so that you don't have any kind of loophole to fall on to be able to get out of going door to door and field service. So that's why they put that. That's why they're not cutting anybody with any chronic illness any slack, because you have just regular healthy Joe Schmoes saying that they're sick and trying to get out of service.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's logical thinking. See, that's why we do have a smart audience, folks. I'm telling you, that's logical thinking. Sometimes you have to think 2 steps ahead of the Watchtower. And that's exactly why, because a lot of people are probably saying, gee, I'm sick, I can't go out, or I don't want to catch COVID. So, they're saying, hey, get out there, get your butt moving, get out there and get some service time in. Well, thank you, Justin. Thank you very much.
Hello, Rick.
Yes, Constance.
Well, I was going to say, when somebody has a chronic disease, that's very, very serious, and it can be quite debilitating. I mean, like, say, for example, somebody has cancer. I had a friend, she had colon cancer. She was totally shocked by it. But anyway, she went through chemo and radiation, and let me tell you, Rick, it kicked her butt. She was puking her guts out. And sometimes when you go through chemo and radiation, you lose your hair, you have no appetite, and the fatigue is unbelievable. And that can go on for a couple of years, and that's no joke. Or take a diabetic, you've lost one leg, or you're, a double amputee. I mean, Rick, I guess my point that I'm trying to make is Watchtower is very heartless when it comes to this. It really, to this issue. And like you've always said, Rick, follow the money trail when it comes to Watchtower. Now, I want to ask you a question, and correct me, Rick, if I'm wrong, but I have the impression that somewhere along the line, the reason why Watchtower is so fastidious about taking copious records on field service and the hours is because Watchtower gets paid from, my understanding is, the federal government for all of those hours. Is that correct, Rick, or each of the publishers that submit their time? I know there's the money trail for sure.
Yeah, well, not in this country. They don't get any money from the government here, but in other countries they do. For example, in the United Kingdom, and I believe also Australia, and I believe New Zealand, that the Watchtower, what they do is those governments give so much money per person who was in their religion. So if you have a million people in your religion, they got a system they work on. They give it to all religions, not just witnesses in those countries, but they give each religion per amount of people they have so much money. So the more people you have, the more money you make. But it runs into the millions. In fact, someone told me once, hundreds of millions of dollars throughout Europe for the witnesses.
Right. So you can see why Watchtower is always pushing this, you got to get out and service. And then they're, throwing a guilt trip on all the brothers and sisters, if they're not getting their hours in. But yeah, it's very, very interesting, Rick. And anybody, if you've ever been with someone who's critically ill, if they've been on dialysis, their quality of life is very, very poor. I mean, they're in dialysis 3 times a week for 4 or 5 hours. They weigh in, see what their weight is. They get in, sit down the dialysis machine. They hook up to it, and it purifies your whole blood, because your kidneys is what filters your blood, all the toxins out. It doesn't hurt, but it takes 4 or 5 hours. My Mark was a brittle diabetic. Yeah, so they'd unplug him and he'd be bleeding all over the place. And then you have to weigh yourself, and they're exhausted. They're just totally exhausted all day. So, I think Watchtower is very heartless, Rick, when it comes to this. I'm very compassionate about people who are ill. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Constance. And what Thomas was talking about too, that they really do stress you get out, sick or not. And I can remember one meeting I was in, probably back in the late 90s, and the elder got up on the stage and he said, "Now look it," he said, "there's no reason for you not to come to a meeting." And I'm sure that covered field services as well. But he said, "There's no reason for you not to come to a meeting." Now, he says, if you have a headache, if you have, problems sick-wise, and unless you're flat on a stretcher, he says, and even then, you could probably be rolled in. I mean, really, this is how they would talk to the organization. And some people took this seriously. I just took it as, okay, I just see the point he's making. But some people, I'll tell you what, my wife, let me just go to this. My former wife, you guys remember her, and she would come on from time to time years ago, and she would have chronic seizures, like I was saying earlier. And what I wanted to say is she was so worried all the time that she had to get service time in. I mean, that really stressed her out. She would basically get anxiety over the whole thing. And I can remember many times that she would be in the hospital because of having a seizure, and she didn't get much time in during the month. And she would be so worried about getting her time in, and she was afraid that she wouldn't be pleasing Jehovah. And even the elders would say to her, "Well, Inez, witness to the doctor, witness to the nurse, do that, and get your time in." I mean, why would you even tell somebody like that that's suffering from a chronic, and she had a chronic disease, it was a seizures. She had these seizures. So, no feeling for anybody. No feeling at all. What a hard organization. I often liken the Watchtower to the mafia. And I'm certainly not speaking disrespectfully of the mafia. I think the Watchtower is worse. I really do. All right. Well, that's what's going on with the chronic sickness.
Yeah, Mr. Thurn.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, this one guy that's the only documentary I only took of his experience with the JWs, and he had medical problems. So did his mother and dad, and the Watchtower Society studied with both his mother and dad and so forth, and they talked about their medical problems, and he talked about his medical problems. You know what? The Watchtower Society just looked straight ahead like they didn't even hear him when he talked about his medical problems. They just totally and absolutely ignored him. So that goes to show you how heartless these JWs are. Now, a true Orthodox believer in Christianity would be sympathetic towards people that had medical problems. They would not ignore them.
No, they wouldn't, Ken. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I speak up?
Go ahead, Justy.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay. I had 3 kids. The first one, my husband and I tried for 10 years before I got pregnant, and she's 44 now, my first one. But anyway, I had never had kids before, so I didn't know what happened. I was 30 when she was born, and I started getting labor pains at 6 months. And I remember going in the service, and they would make me get out of the car and go to the door in labor pains. And she was born a month and a half premature. She was in critical condition for 2 weeks. She was taken in an ambulance
to a hospital 45 miles away from here. And if it wasn't for that, she wouldn't have made it because she was premature. They forced me. They made me go on service. When I would go on service, they shamed me if I didn't get out. I would go to the door and I would come back doubling over in pain because of labor pains. I had no idea. So the second time when I got pregnant, it's like, I'm not going to let them do that to me. And so it happened with all three of my kids. I started getting labor pains at 6 months. But I learned from the first one, you can't let them do that to you. You have to listen to yourself, because she would have died if we hadn't been, if they didn't take her to a hospital that kept her alive. So I'm saying is that, I was, 30 at the time. I let them do that to me, and I'm just saying, don't let them do that to you. You got to stand up for yourself. So it's my personal experience with that.
Good for you. Now,
Thank you.
is this the first time you called in?
No, I called in last week, I think, too.
Oh, yeah, no, in fact, yeah, I do recognize you. I just wasn't sure, but no, well, thank you for sharing that with us. I really do appreciate it, because I like this. I like to have people hear right from the mouth of a witness how bad these guys are. And so I feel
Let
bad.
them do that to you.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hey,
Bye.
You know what happens here at the Sixth Queen? Somebody wrote me an email, and they said, Rick, will you stop calling people brother and sister? And I got thinking, it's nothing to do with the Watchtower. See, they're liking it to the Watchtower. But what else do you call people? I don't know the people's names, so I can't.
I do the same thing.
So I mean, I'm just doing it out of a kind gesture. I'm certainly not trying to connect you to the Watchtower here, but what am I supposed to say? Hey, dude, come in. So I use a nice little term like brother or sister. So so I want you to know that. Thank you. All right.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye now. So there you go. I mean, there you go. This is just telling you. You're going to get labor pains. Don't even think about it. Get out there. Jehovah will help you. He'll take your pains away. Yeah, he'll mess you up too so that your baby almost dies. I mean, really, think about it. Yeah, so they're evil. I don't know what else to say. I really, really don't. I mean, it's amazing what they do. And then even on that same line of reasoning, so we talked about having a chronic illness, but on that same line of reasoning, what if you're a Jehovah's Witness in a nursing facility? Yeah, well, what happens then? Well, there's no excuse if you're in a nursing facility and you're even in hospice, really, that they want you out in the work. Now, you can't go door to door, but they want you in there witnessing to the nurses and the doctors, and the Watchtower Corporation will make demands, and they'll give you a guilt trip, and they'll take your very last breath away from you. Yeah, the Watchtower, there's no such thing as retirement. Did you know that? I mean, most businesses, if you work there for a while, okay, Mr. Farron, you can take some time off. Now you're retired. No, they don't do that in the Watchtower. Jehovah's Witnesses are always on duty. No rest, ever. No rest for Jehovah's Witness. And there's so many ways that the Watchtower organization exploits the Jehovah's Witnesses emotionally, and they manipulate the members, the disabled, the sick, the elderly. They're being manipulated. And now what they're saying, if you're in a nursing home, they're saying, well, you can't really get out door-to-door work, or you can't really get a cart and go out and stand on the side of the road. You're in the nursing home, so they say, here's a surefire way that you can get your service time in. So what they tell the people in a nursing home, they say, well, you can witness to the staff and the residents. Yeah, witness to the staff and residents. I've visited my relatives in nursing homes, my two aunts in particular, and, they would play games together and bingo, and they would eat together, and some nursing homes are pretty good. So what the Watchtower is saying here is, well, witness to the to the residents, and witness to the doctors and the nurses. Are you kidding me? That's all you're going to do is start witnessing and being a real crazy person in there, and you're not going to have any friends. They're not going to play bingo with you. They're going to they're going to look at you like you have a plague. They're going to look at you like you've been bitten by a rat of some type. So, I mean, this could really think about it. If you were in the nursing home and you're witnessing to everybody in there, it could reduce the amount of attention and care that you need. People won't want to associate with you in the nursing home. Think about it. Would you want to, if you were in a nursing home with a person, you had to visit them every day and all they did was witness to you? Would you like it? I don't think you would. So why don't the Watchtower, why do they have to butt into people's affairs? I'm thinking, the poor people who are the caretakers, the people that work in these nursing homes, that they want you to witness to them too. The janitor, the cooks that are making the rounds, the people delivering the food, witness to them. I mean, geez, they're underpaid as it is. They don't make enough money. They're already overworked, and they're going to have to deal with the verbal abuse from a Jehovah's Witness who was in the nursing home. Come on, that's not going to work. You're going to make that Jehovah's Witness an enemy. You're not going to be able to help that witness. So, I still stand on the same feeling. You're always on duty. When you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're always on duty. There's no rest ever, ever. The governing body are thinking that maybe you in the nursing home or in the hospital, maybe you can find some converts in these places, and maybe the Watchtower can get their hands on their money. And that's all the Watchtower is thinking, seriously. So how about those high officials, though? Think of the difference. Here we have poor Jehovah's Witnesses in some state-run, county-run nursing home, and yet we have the high officials of the Watchtower, the governing body, and they're minions. So they're living high off the hog. They're in the lap of luxury, and they're not living a crummy life in some rotting trailer park somewhere. They're living good. They're doing good. So don't you think the Watchtower would cut some slack to these poor people that are in nursing homes? No, they just want you to give anything you can to them until it hurts. Yeah, until it hurts. And then give me some more. That's exactly what the Watchtower's attitude is. Because these elite, greedy Jehovah's Witnesses who live in the world headquarters, they depend on your perpetual donations to keep their pantries well stocked and their liquor cabinets filled with their best scotch. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. And it's only the top brass that gets to stay in the ivory towers of the Watchtower. The Bethelites, well, they get to be a certain age. They approach 60, they get the boot. So there you have it. What do you think? You're on with me.
Yeah, Mr. Farron?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my call again here. I've been listening with interest off and on here and all that, and I want to comment on the fact that how the Watchtower Society goes to witness to the doctors and nurses, health professionals and all that. Here are the facts. They have had very little success in winning over to their side of religious beliefs, any of those kind of professionals and so forth. They have had very little success at winning over to their side any kind of people that's very dedicated to their own respective religions, no matter if it's Catholic or Protestants and so forth and all that. But although that they encourage their members to go and talk to these medical professionals and all that, who are well advanced in their knowledge, and they probably can see right through their religion and so forth. That's really counterproductive. It's naive and so forth. I think Watchtower Society, you better wake up, because the medical profession and these other professionals, they can see right through them.
Well, you're absolutely right, Ken. I don't see anything that you said there is not correct. Yep, they can see right through them. Good comments. Always good to hear from you, Ken. Always good to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, we hope we get some more callers in here, and I'm happy to hear that we've got so much more participation than we had in the past. So, thank you.
Well, that's good. Well, maybe this next story, might get them thinking. We got a couple of stories. We might not get to them all tonight, but I just wanted, there's a couple here. I hope they will get in before we have to end the program. But anyways, well, let's start with this one. Yeah, in fact, let's go with this one. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Jehovah's Witnesses, they have, well, let's see. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Okay. Well, let me give you the headlines here first, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it has to do with Ukraine. If you go on jw.org, and there's a lot of videos in there on Ukraine and the witnesses that have fled Ukraine and how they got help from the governing body and how the Jehovah's Witnesses came to their rescue. And, I got information today from a Jehovah's Witness. He's a PMO, but I got information today, and he gives us the real story. Well, he lived in Ukraine. He was a Jehovah's Witness living in Ukraine, and he shared some information today here to 6 screens that made sense to me and how the Watchtower is lying. And I'm going to say it right here live on air that the Watchtower does lie. And we know they do. And they'll do whatever they can to get people to give them money and stay in the organization. They actually have a strategy. They have a policy. It's called War Strategy that allows them to lie, and they'll lie about everything. So anyways, the information I got is from a PMO, and he's an ex-elder. Evidently he stepped down, but still kind of keeping himself hidden for the sake of not wanting to be shunned. But he fled from Ukraine into Poland. And I'm not sure that you got all the story on Ukraine, but we've been talking about it here for the last few months, really, on how the witnesses seem to, we're helping the Ukrainian people so much. But he wanted to tell the other side of the story. So he said when the war started, the Ukrainians started to rush the borders. They ran as fast as they could to Poland and other countries. And people started to organize, and hundreds of cars went to the border to bring the refugees to safety. So he's saying that, when the Russian army came in and invaded Ukraine, all of the people in Ukraine, including the Jehovah's Witnesses, they got to get out of there, or they're going to get killed by the Russians. So people would bring their cars living in Poland and other countries right up to the border of Ukraine, and they would evacuate the people coming to the border. And he doesn't mention about any Jehovah's Witnesses doing that. It was all the locals that were living right near the border there in Poland, so he doesn't mention witnesses were in that group. And then he said at every border crossing, you could find tents with hot food and basic items for the need of the people who were hurting and suffering and fleeing. They were refugees. And he says that, the Watchtower, they're so eager to tell everybody that they're helping so much, but he says diddly squat for the Watchtower. He was saying how people in Poland and these other countries that the Ukrainian refugees were fleeing to, he says those people started offering their houses to families. Come live with us, mostly to women and kids that came there. They had nowhere to stay. And people from all over Poland and other countries were saying, come stay with us, come stay with us. And, he was saying the Jehovah's Witnesses, they talk a good game, but it wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses that were doing this. He says this was the worldly people. Worldly people were reaching out to all of the refugees come across, the starving, hurting, scared to death refugees, leaving their husband behind. They didn't know what to do, but people were opening their arms to them and involving them in their family. You come live with us. Oh, the Watchtower wasn't there doing it. Oh, well, they were there doing it, but only for their own people. And he was saying here that the real love came from the worldly people, not from the Jehovah's Witnesses. he was saying that the refugees didn't receive the food or whatever they needed. And if they did, it certainly wasn't the organization bringing them food supplies. No, he says that didn't happen. But Watchtower governing body, they're there to talk about how great they did helping the refugees who needed help, and that help could be given to them by you giving donations to the Watchtower. Well, where'd all the money go? That's what he was wondering. Where did all the money go? So, the thing is, and he wanted to bring this out, that he says Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was right on there, jw.org, that they helped 7,000 brothers and sisters. Now, let me underline brothers and sisters. The Watchtower helped their own kind, but the whole country of Poland, in this particular case, I guess it was, that they actually accepted 3 million refugees coming in from Poland. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses never talked about this. The refugees coming into Poland were 3 million, and all the kind-hearted, worldly people helped these people, regardless of their religious denomination. But the whole Jehovah's Witnesses, well, they were so eager to suggest they helped 7,000 brothers and sisters, but they didn't do anything for people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. People accepted refugees from all religions in their houses without any question. Do you think that would happen in the Watchtower? Gee, Mr. and Mrs. Worldly, and your kids, why don't you come stay with us? No way, they wouldn't do it. So the world, as this man was saying, and he witnessed it, he says the world displays true love for neighbors, but the cult leaders, they're certainly not displaying love at all. So I wanted to bring that up to you guys. And like I say, he's wondering where the donations go. The Watchtower said, no, don't form together and send donations like to certain groups of people coming out of the Ukraine. You send the money here, we'll take care of them. Where'd the donations go? Go ahead, you're on with us.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jackson from Wisconsin. I was in a congregation where we were suffering during the pandemic, and I asked one of the elders, hey, is there anybody in the congregation that could use some money? Because, we're having some problems because a lot of them aren't working. And the elder said, yeah, we have some families that are desperate in need. So then, he didn't tell me who needed the money, but later on, at the following meeting, he says, if you want to help any of the families in need, send the money to the Worldwide Work. And I thought, what a crooked deal. And then a little bit later, the circuit overseer comes, and he tells the elders, you guys need to set up a fund for this family because their kids are suffering from cancer and they can't work. They need money. They need help. But the elders had no interest in helping them until the circuit overseer finally mentioned it to them. So it just goes to show at a local level, they don't care about the physical needs of the families. They're more concerning about sending money up the chain to Watchtower. And it just, at that point, that really helped me to wake up at that point.
Well, good for you, brother. Thank you very much for calling in. I think this is your first time calling in, is it? Well, I don't think he's with us now, but I think that was his first time. Always good to hear from new ones. Hey, look, here's what we're going to do right now.
Mr. Farron?
Yeah, go ahead. Can we get time for one more comment? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep this brief in here and all that. Talking about the Watchtower Society helping somebody and everything like that, and these donations and everything and so forth. We've had hundreds upon thousands of calls here, and I've heard it hundreds upon thousands of times and all that. The Watchtower Society doesn't even help their own people, let alone somebody else. They just don't care. And there was a guy on here that point blank said that when they had this 211 crisis and so forth, other religious groups and everything like that were going around and offering people lunches, bottled water and everything like that around the 211 towers and so forth. Watchtower Society did nothing. That goes to show you, they don't care about not even their own people, let alone somebody else.
Well, hey, I'm with you, Ken. I agree 100% with you. And thank you, too. Good comments tonight, Ken. Very good. What I'm going to do.
Can I just add one more comment?
Go ahead. One more comment. Yep.
Well, yeah, this is Joe from Colorado. A sad situation in a congregation I used to serve in, and I wanted no part of it. There was a pioneer sister that actually, she had good motive. She went to an area to feed. There was a homeless population in the town I was in, and they were feeding the homeless, and she was brought in by the elders. I'm not making this up. And she was told that she could lose her pioneer privileges because she was, in their mind, a part of, or she was practicing interfaith. Now, what does helping a neighbor? You know, the Good Samaritan was all about helping somebody that was not even part of the clan. You know, you're part of the Jewish system. So here was this pioneer sister doing the right thing, helping the neighbors in our community, and they threatened to take her pioneer privileges away.
Well, that's what they do, Joe. That's what they do. They're not. They don't have much love for one another. That's for sure.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick. This is Gilbert. We remember we met up there, and I just wanted to, real quick, too. Hey, in Major League Baseball and football, basketball, they all call each other brothers. In every major trades, people always call themselves brothers. So don't let anybody tell you don't call somebody a brother or sister, because everywhere in America, all over the world, people do that, you know. But anyways, this thing, I just wanted to talk to you.